The Komodo dragons are the largest living lizard on Earth. It can grow over 10 feet long, weigh more than 300 pounds, and kill prey with a single bite. It's been called a living dinosaur, a perfect predator, a monster of evolution. But here's what nobody tells you. The Komodo dragon's life is not one of dominance, it's one of suffering. From the moment it hatches, it's hunted, starved, attacked, even by its own kind. This is the miserable life of a Komodo dragon. A female Komodo dragon lays about 20 to 30 eggs. She digs a hole or uses an old megapode nest, puts the eggs inside and covers them with dirt. Then she stays there and guards them for months without leaving. She doesn't eat. She doesn't go anywhere. She just waits and protects the nest. But when the eggs finally hatch, the baby Komodo dragons crawl out into a world where almost everything wants to kill them. The first danger the baby Komodo faces is actually its own mother. Grown Komodo dragons are cannibals, which means they'll eat other Komodos, even their own babies. Not because they're mean or evil, but simply because they're hungry, and to them, food is food. A deer, a pig, or a baby dragon. It's all the same. Researchers think adult Komodos eat about 10% of the babies every year. So if a mother lays 30 eggs, at least 3 of those babies will be eaten before they ever get a chance to grow up. That's why the moment a baby Komodo hatches, it doesn't run to its mom. It runs away from her, and it climbs as fast as it can because the only safe place from an adult Komodo is up in the trees. Baby Komodos spend the first 3 to 5 years of their lives in trees. They cling to branches, hide in the canopy, and only come down when it's absolutely necessary. They eat insects, small lizards, bird eggs, anything they can catch without touching the ground, because the ground is where the adults are, and the adults are always hungry. And so this is how a Komodo dragon's life begins, not as a predator, but as prey, running from its own species, hiding in trees, hoping it survives long enough to grow. Living in the trees sounds safe, but it really isn't. Baby Komodo dragons are tiny, only about a foot long, and everything wants to eat them. Adult Komodos can't climb, but plenty of other predators can. Snakes hunt them, eagles hunt them, wild boars hunt them. Even large monitor lizards, close relatives of the Komodo, will eat them if given the chance. So the baby dragons spend most of their time hiding. They press their bodies against the tree bark and stay completely still for hours, so they blend in. They only move when they absolutely have to, and the whole time they're watching and listening, because one mistake means death. But hiding in the trees comes with a big problem. There isn't much food up there. They only find tiny insects or the occasional bird egg, and that's not enough for a growing Komodo dragon. So they stay hungry most of the time, and that makes them weak. The heat makes things even harder. Komodo dragons can't control their body temperature like we do. They need the sun to warm them up. But in the trees, they're stuck out in the sun for hours. If they get too hot, they can overheat. If they don't get enough sun, they become slow and tired, which makes hunting and escaping danger more difficult. Dehydration is another constant threat. There's no water in the trees. The young dragons have to come down to drink, and every time they do, they risk being seen, being caught, being eaten. So they wait, they endure. They survive on the edge of starvation, exhaustion, and death for years. And even as they grow stronger, the fear never leaves, because they know that one wrong step, one moment of carelessness, and they'll be torn apart by the same giant dragons they'll eventually grow into. After about 5 years, a young Komodo dragon is finally big enough to climb down from the trees for good. By then, it's around 6 feet long and about 50 pounds. strong enough to fight back, strong enough to hunt. You'd think life would get easier at this point, but it doesn't. It actually gets harder. Adult Komodo dragons live alone. They don't have friends, they don't form groups, and they don't help each other. Each dragon wanders by itself across hot, dry land, walking for miles just to find something to eat, and finding food is almost always a struggle. Komodos hunt when they can, but they also survive on whatever dead animals they can find. A deer, a wild buffalo, anything at all. But dead animals don't show up every day. Sometimes a Komodo can wait weeks before finding its next meal. When Komodo dragons do hunt, it's honestly scary. They don't chase their prey like how other wild animals do. Instead, they hide and wait. They crouch in tall grass or behind rocks and stay completely still until an animal walks by. And then, boom, they explode forward. Their jaws snap shut, and their teeth are like tiny knives that curve backward, so once they bite you, it's almost impossible to pull away. But the worst part isn't the bite itself. Komodos have venom in their mouths. When they bite an animal, that venom makes the animal's blood thin so it can't clot, drops its blood pressure, and sends the body into shock. So even if the prey gets away at first, it starts bleeding a lot and gets weaker and weaker. The Komodo just follows behind, slowly, waiting for the moment the animal can't stand anymore. It's a brutal way to hunt, but it's the only way Komodo dragons survive. When a Komodo dragon finally gets its meal, things get even rougher. They don't wait for their prey to die peacefully. They bite and tear off huge pieces of meat, sometimes while the animal is still alive. They swallow giant chunks, even whole limbs, and they keep eating until their stomachs get so full they can barely walk. But here's the crazy part. Eating is dangerous for them too. A Komodo's spit is full of bacteria, more than 50 different kinds, and many of them can cause serious infections. When they bite another animal, the bacteria help kill the prey, but those same germs get into the Komodo's own cuts and wounds inside their mouth. And because Komodos have weak immune systems, these infections can sometimes kill them. So even when they eat, they suffer. Even when they win, they lose. Komodo dragons don't mate gently, they mate violently. When mating season comes, the males don't line up or take turns. They fight for the female, which happens a lot in the animal kingdom. And these aren't little arguments, they're full-on battles. Two males will stand up on their back legs like giant wrestlers, grabbing each other, biting, clawing, and smashing each other into the ground. They roll around in the dirt, twisting and slamming with their full weight. And these fights can go on for hours. The loser usually ends up with deep cuts, broken bones, or terrible injuries. But even the winner doesn't walk away in good shape. He's bleeding, bruised, and barely standing. But the violence doesn't stop after the males fight each other. When a male finally approaches the female, things are still rough. Female Komodo dragons don't simply accept a mate, they fight back. So the male has to hold her down with his weight, biting her neck and pinning her to the ground just to stay in place. Because of how intense and physical this is, the female often ends up badly hurt. She can get deep bite marks, torn skin, or even broken ribs. And in some cases, the female doesn't survive the mating process, not because the male intentionally killed them, but because the process is so violent that their bodies can't take it. After mating, the female is left alone. She digs a burrow, lays her eggs, and guards them for months. She doesn't eat. She doesn't drink. She just waits, and when the eggs hatch, she leaves, because if she stays, she'll eat them. So she, basically, do everything you saw at the start, and the cycle begins once again. A Komodo dragon's metabolism is extremely slow. That slow system helps them survive for weeks without food because their body doesn't burn energy quickly. But there's a downside. Even though they can stay alive, they don't feel full or strong. They feel hungry most of the time, and their bodies run on low energy, so they spend most part of their lives searching for food, always tired, always pushing to survive. And as we mentioned earlier, they mostly survive on scavenging, eating whatever they can find. It doesn't matter if it's old, rotting meat covered in maggots or flesh that smells awful and is falling apart. They eat whatever keeps them alive. Their teeth don't make things easier either. Komodo dragons have about 60 teeth, but they break all the time. They crack, fall out, and wear down. New teeth eventually grow in, but it takes a long time, and while they wait, eating becomes harder and more painful. And their bodies don't heal well either. A cut that would close in days for most animals takes weeks for a Komodo. Infections set in, wounds fester, and because they live in harsh, dirty environments, there's no escape from contamination. So they suffer constantly, quietly, and alone. There's no peaceful old age for a Komodo dragon, no quiet life at the end. As they grow older, their teeth wear down until they can't bite or tear meat anymore. Hunting becomes impossible. And when a Komodo can't hunt, it slowly starves to death, which is a really painful way to go. Their bodies get weaker too. Their muscles shrink. They move slower. And in the wild, moving slow is dangerous. It makes them easy targets, not just for other animals, but for younger Komodo dragons, because the cannibalism doesn't stop. If an old Komodo can't fight back, the younger ones will attack it. They'll tear it apart and eat it, even while it's still alive. It doesn't matter if that old Komodo is their parent. To them, food is food. Many Komodos die from heat exhaustion. They collapse in the sun, unable to move, unable to find shade, and they bake slowly until their organs fail. And some just disappear. They wander off into the wilderness, too weak to continue, and they're never seen again. And that's how a Komodo dragon's life usually ends, not like a powerful king, but as prey, the same way their life began. And as if life wasn't already hard enough for Komodo dragons, humans have made things even worse. They only live on 5 small islands in Indonesia, nowhere else on the whole planet. And even those islands are disappearing. That's not all. Climate change is also pushing the ocean higher every year, washing away their beaches, flooding the places where they lay their eggs, and shrinking the land they hunt on. Little by little, their world is getting smaller, so they have less space, less food, and honestly, less hope. Today, there are fewer than 1,400 mature Komodo dragons left in the wild. They're officially listed as endangered, and their numbers are dropping. So even if a Komodo survives its mother, survives the trees, survives starvation, infection, and violence, it still has to survive us, and that might be the cruelest part of it all. The Komodo dragon is not a monster, it's a survivor, and survival in nature is rarely glorious. It's brutal, it's painful, and it's very lonely. Thank you for watching till the end. If this story made you see the world a little differently, please subscribe to our channel.